Hi, I wanted to use this video to show some examples through some slides, show some examples of the applications of the Cartesian coordinate system to both the CNC or a vertical milling center, as well as to the CAD-CAM package that we're going to be using. And I'm actually going to keep this sidebar open instead of going to a full-fledged slideshow, just because I might end up jumping around a little bit. The first slide that you see here is actually the type of material that we'll use in the class to do example parts on the CNC mill. So this is a 4-inch by 2-inch by 1-inch block of UHMW polyethylene plastic. And we use those in the class because they're pretty forgiving on the tooling in case that students make mistakes with homing or anything like that, which we'll discuss in later videos and in the class. But at this point, I just wanted to kind of show the students what it is that they'll be machining, at least in terms of the CNC portion of the class, and to also give them a frame of reference here for the part that I'll show at the end of the slide presentation as well. So hopefully a lot of these slides, at least that have to do with the Cartesian coordinate system, for the Cartesian coordinate system itself, will be a bit of a review, but really what's important here is how it's applied to the machining environment, but also how it's applied to the CAD-CAM package. So what you see here is just a schematic of a Haas milling machine, vertical milling center, that shows the table with being the XY portion of the coordinate system, and the tooling, which would be located up here in this turret, being the Z portion of, so the actual third dimension here, the Z portion of the vertical milling center. And at this point, what we're going to focus on is at least the X and Y, because that's where we're going to start in terms of actually going into Mastercam and doing the initial drawing of parts and geometry that we'll then use to chain our tool paths to. So if a lot of the terminology and things like that are a little confusing right now, don't worry too much about it, because there will be things that we'll cover additionally in the class. So again, with regards to how this applies to our CAD-CAM package and the machining setup, if you can imagine, as we look down on the part that would be sitting on our milling machine table, this is what we can imagine, our XY Cartesian coordinate system, where we have each of our quadrants, quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4, that you're familiar with from your math classes. And this is the orientation as you would be looking down on it as the operator of the machine. But this is why we set up, when we set up our Mastercam screen, why we had set up this grid system here on the screen. It was because this grid system actually coincides with or coordinates with the XY coordinate system that we see here. So just like we have the 4 quadrants in this particular slide over here, we also have the 4 quadrants here, with this center point being our origin. And so what we're seeing here is what we're actually going to create or begin to create in the next video that I'm going to do. And this is the geometry creation of our 4-inch by our 2-inch block that we'll be machining. The first example part that we will end up doing is actually going to look like this, where we're going to cut this slot or this contour all the way through the part. It seems like a very simplistic part to work on, but the reality is that there's a lot of things going on. There's actually several different ways that we can accomplish this with the CNC machine, but also with the CAD-CAM software that we use, and that's why it ends up being a very good first example for us to follow. And again, what I'll do is just kind of end this video here with kind of a look at what the process might look like, at least a schematic of the process, where the machine is feeding into the tool, feeding the workpiece into the tool, and in this case we're using a flat end mill to machine this cut through this part. And that is essentially what we'll end up doing with our first machining example that we'll be working on. But again, for the purpose of this was to get you more more in tune with what's going on with the Cartesian coordinate system and how it relates to our CAD-CAM package, as well as our CNC vertical milling center.